Welcome to our channel. Enjoyed this content? Don't miss out on more. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for exciting updates and videos. Remember, your support is what keeps us going, and we're truly thankful to have such an incredible community of viewers like you. Let's continue this journey together and make our channel even bigger and better. Stay tuned for more awesome content. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. The small room almost transformed into a steamer. If someone stepped into the room, they would think they were in a sauna. It is obvious that Lu Sheng is the source of all this steam. The whole person seems to be a boiled kettle because of the thick heat coming out of his body in the haze of the vapor. One could see Lu Sheng's muscles shaking slowly and rhythmically. He became fuller along with each breath. The explosive power packed beneath the skin could be felt even by the naked eye. Very quickly, Lu Sheng was done with the final exercise. But he did not open his eyes, but sat in place. His chest rose and fell, and a large amount of white steam was breathed from his nose and exhaled from his mouth. It swam around the room like a spiritual snake. He did not know how long this lasted. But when the vapor in the room gradually dissipated, Lu Sheng slowly opened his eyes. This stellar body refining technique is truly worthy of being the most powerful body refining technique 10,000 into the future. The latent potential it can unearth from a body is simply unimaginable. At this rate, a star might really germinate in my body. The natural breathing technique also seems to possess an extremely strong recovery ability. Without the cooperation of this breathing technique, the effect of the body refining technique would not be so good. Lu Sheng fiercely clenched his fist, feeling the explosive power coursing through his fingers and palms. His face revealed a look of pure delight. My BQV was enhanced yet again. Spiritual muscle and blood strengthening soup is very effective. With my current physique, it's enough if I consume 2 portions a day. I can't seem to digest more than that at the moment. Then according to this, if I do the math, then my current stock will last me 6 days, and I'll find more ways to procure them after that. Ding ring, ring ding ring ring. The phone rang suddenly. Lu Sheng picked up the phone. Yes. When? A week from now. Lu Sheng hung up the phone without waiting for the other side to speak. The person who called him was the young man from Xing Shantang who had secretly rented him the mixing room. The other party said something about the mistress of Xing Shantang wanting to see him now. Lu Sheng assented to the request, but the time had to be next time he came to utilize the mixing room. It's time to concentrate on cultivation. Lu Sheng did not forget the burden he was carrying on his shoulders. Well, what did the other party say? He Ling Su stared at Ma Fei with an expectant face. Hey, give me the phone, I'll talk to him myself. He Ling Su directly grabbed Ma Fei's cell phone, but before she could answer it, she heard Ma Fei's helpless voice. He hung up. Then call him back. He Ling Su was not deterred and dialed again, but soon she heard the user you have dialed is switched off prompt from the phone. Ah, this is urgent. He Ling Su vented on Ma Fei's phone and punched it twice, which made Ma Fei's face hurt. Miss, that is my phone. Why not smash your own? Miss in fact, he has promised to meet with us. What? He Ling Su's beautiful eyes lit up. Really? What did he say? He said he'll meet, but we have to wait for a week. A week? The surprise on He Ling Su's face quickly faded. Thanks, a week is too long, there are too many variables. No. He Ling Su shook her head. She had just experienced being shortchanged, that too within a span of half day. A week? Flowers would have already wilted by then. Miss it's not a matter of whether we take the initiative or not, but whether the other party is willing. Everything lies on his hands, Ma Fei patiently explained to He Ling Su. Of course I know. He Ling Su said coldly. It's just that I can't afford to wait for a week. He Ling Su ordered Ma Fei, from now on, you are responsible for helping me find that master. The sooner, the better. The sooner you complete the task, I'll reward you with 5,000, no, 10,000 yuan for every day you manage to save. Really? Hearing that there was a reward, Ma Fei immediately perked up. Missy, you have to keep your word. When have I ever not kept my word? He Ling Su was overcome with impatience, and was both excited and nervous. She was both eager and terrified. It was difficult to describe her current mood. Ma Fei was thinking about the amount he would get as a reward when he suddenly remembered and said something worriedly. Missy, I think you're mistaken about something? The person who asked me to lend him the mixing room was only a teenager, perhaps a high schooler. Could he really be that master pharmacist as you said he was? A student, He Ling Su frowned slightly and whispered to herself. Then perhaps, there is a master pharmacist behind him. Oh. Ma Fei nodded his head in understanding. Scholarship. Lu Sheng stood in the middle of a dilapidated street. At a distance of 10 meters from him, there stood a tall zombie. This zombie was missing a left arm and had a huge wound over 30 centimeters long on its chest. It tilted its head slightly, its hollow eyes gazing longingly in one direction. Lu Sheng followed its lines of sight, and he saw the huge fissure in the city wall that he had passed by on his way in. Lu Sheng was silent for a moment, and then slowly took a step forward. This step seemed to have alerted the zombie, as the quiet one-armed zombie turned its head to look at him. Without any words, the latter flung towards him. Lu Sheng's eyes were calm, he took a deep breath and bent his back slightly to meet him. The two figures collided with great force in the empty and dilapidated street. A touch and a split. One of the figures thumped back a few steps. Lu Sheng's expression was slightly strained. The fight with this one-armed zombie went for a long time. They felt a strong sense of danger emitting from it. But even so, when he was face to face with it, Lu Sheng still was at a disadvantage. It's at least twice as strong as me. Lu Sheng did not panic. Countless accounts, experiences, and techniques tumbled up in his mind. He calmly threw punches, accurately and properly blocking each attack of the one-armed zombie. The one-armed zombie was faster and stronger than Lu Sheng, and did not understand fatigue or pain. But it had an equally glaring weakness. It was missing an arm, had no intelligence, and could only follow the combat instincts in its muscles. To fight. This gave Lu Sheng the opportunity to defeat it head-on. Lu Sheng moved nimbly to avoid the one-armed zombie's fist. Taking advantage of its momentary lapse, he found an opening in its defense. He swings his leg and hit the one-armed zombie's forehead. His leg made a perfect arc. And in the process, the muscles on his leg seemed to move as if they had gained a life of their own. Bam! The one-armed zombie's head directly exploded. This leg was far more powerful than any of Lu Sheng's previous punches. A lot more powerful. The one-armed zombie fell down with a bang. Lu Sheng walked up to it, looked at its mutilated body, and chanted lowly. The spirit is undying. The one-armed zombie's body quickly weathered, and its lifetime of experience and skill turned into a black smoke and beelined into Lu Sheng's body. Lu Sheng absorbed it without comment. Nowadays, he long ceased to regard these zombies as mere monsters that gave him EXP but always attached some inexplicable feeling to each of them. Admiration, remembrance, or even commitment. The first thing one needed to do was to get a bearing of what one was doing. Level 5 Martial Artist, a powerhouse, Lu Sheng finished absorbing the memory of the one-armed zombie, and learned from the memory that the other party was a level 5 martial artist when it was alive. And it was particularly good at hand combat, and with its experience as a level 5 martial artist and its ideas and perception on the subject, it let Lu Sheng directly break through the barrier and step into a new realm of hand combat and martial arts. No wonder it had such strong punches. I wonder if I've met the criterion for a level 2 martial artist after my breakthrough. Lu Sheng had been practicing stellar body refining technique, natural breathing technique and crystal contemplation technique for almost a week, and had almost finished through his stock of spiritual muscle and blood strengthening soup. He felt that his BQV had increased by a lot, but wasn't sure by how much exactly. Even if my BQV does not meet the required standards for a level 2 martial artist, my current CPI should more than make up for it. If I use the secret method I learned, together with the natural breathing technique, the secret method Lu Sheng referred to was actually a power generation technique. A very high-level power generation technique, recorded in the introductory chapter of the stellar body refining technique. This kind of power generation technique could allow a martial artist to explode with power several times, tens of times, or even hundreds of times beyond his normal state, and his combat power would directly skyrocket. However, this power generation technique requires a high level of physical fitness from the user, and Lu Sheng could only reach 4 times the power generation in his current stat. It was also very scary. It was equivalent to letting a level 1 martial artist burst out with the power equivalent to that of a level 2 martial artist, or even level 3. This was simply unbelievable. This news, if spread, could directly blow up the entire WMA. Lu Sheng directly named this the stellar power generation. Awakening from the dream state, Lu Sheng opened his eyes. His brain was alert, and he did not feel the slightest bit of fatigue at all. Lu Sheng had discovered this long ago. While he was cultivating and fighting in the dream world, his brain and body both would rest in real time. This was akin to him having twice the time to cultivate compared to normal people, which could be considered as a unique advantage he was blessed with. After waking up, he continued with the stellar body refining technique, the natural breathing technique, and practiced crystal contemplation for a while. After a week, Lu Sheng's progress in the crystal contemplation method was quite admirable, and he had almost succeeded in building a crystal form in his mind, reaching the official introduction stage. A session later, Lu Sheng went to take a shower. After he was back, he realized that no one was home. It was only 8 in the morning. Lu Sheng thought about it and decided to head out. It's been a while since I last tested my BQV and CPI, I should test it today. If I meet the requirements, I should be able to clear the martial artist test with ease. I'd like to rent the testing apparatus, please. It was the same old place, Red River Martial Arts Academy. The pretty receptionist stared at Lu Sheng's face for a while and smiled. Brother, you're here again? Is it that you're so concerned about your grades because of the coming examinations? The pretty receptionist had recognized him. Am I that frequent? Lu Sheng froze for a moment and quickly reacted. Yes, this was the third he was coming here this month. He noticed that each time he came to test out his progress was when he'd relatively made a good improvement in his skills and strength, but he also partly blamed the extreme speed with which he was growing. For a normal person, thrice a month was a lot. And he had measured it almost every week. While even in schools that cared most about a student's progress, they would only ask the student to undergo the test only once a month. Because the BQV was a dynamic value, the more frequent you measure it, the less accurate the value would be instead. Unless the person undergoing the testing was a martial arts genius whose BQV rose rapidly, there would only be a significant increase in numbers once every few days. Oh, yeah, Lu Sheng had no explanations or reason had to give to the receptionist attempts at flirting, so he only indulged her with vague comments and perfunctory nods. Walking into the familiar testing room, Lu Sheng found a random instrument. It was just as well that there was no one in the room, making it convenient for him to fiddle with the apparatus. It's better if I gauge my BQV first. This was the value he was more concerned about. Lu Sheng took a sample of his blood and placed it under the sampling container of the testing apparatus. Very quickly, with a soft sound of the machine, a value popped out. 15.632. That big of an increase. Lu Sheng himself was startled. Thanks to his own thinking, he had come to a conclusion that his current level wasn't enough to reach a level 2 martial artist. But the value turned out to be greater than that. If he thought about it, with the aid of martial cultivation of supreme martial artists, in addition to the most advanced tonics, 10,000 years into the future, it would be strange not to achieve such exaggerated results. Now for my CPI. A bright light flashed in Lu Sheng's eyes, and he aimed his fist fiercely at the strength measuring apparatus in front of him. Let me measure my relaxed state first. Boom. With a muffled sound, a value popped up on the screen of the strength measuring instrument. 3,137? So high? Lu Sheng was shocked for a moment. Because he had absorbed a large amount of combat techniques and experience, his combat power index had always exceeded the corresponding blood chi value standard. But this time, the margin was too large. It was twice as much as the standard. It was something that Lu Sheng did not expect at all. Maybe it's because of the hand combat technique. Lu Sheng thought for a while and quickly found a clue. His hand combat skills, which had broken through once earlier, and he did not get to test it out after that. It was probably his fist techniques that had increased his power output, thus causing the value to soar. In that case, my ultimate combat power should be much higher than I initially expected it to be. Lu Sheng got a bit excited, and decided to measure it once more. This time, he decided to use the stellar power generation technique. 5 minutes later, Lu Sheng walked out of the testing room. He had a serene expression. One couldn't discern his mood. Brother, did you finish the test? Are satisfied with the results this time? The receptionist greeted him with a smile. Lu Sheng smiled faintly, his handsome face evoking a feeling a spring in the onlooker's mind. Very satisfied. The receptionist winked playfully. Then I wish you good luck for your examinations. Thanks. Lu Sheng waved his hand and walked out of the martial arts academy in large strides. The receptionist looked at Lu Sheng's back as he left and muttered with a smile, "Brat, acting cool, but he's pretty good looking when he smiles. Who are you talking about?" A voice suddenly came out from behind the girl, startling her. The girl turned her head to look at the person who spoke and immediately stood up. "Senior sister Ni." Ni Shuang stared at the direction Lu Sheng left, and a look of interest grew in her eyes. She had seen Lu Sheng when he had left the previous time, recognizing him as the poor genius who had managed to surprise her once before. "Did that man come here for a test?" "Yes. He's been here 3 times this month. I guess he's quite nervous about the upcoming examinations," the receptionist said, a matter of fact. "Which machine did he use? Take me to it," Ni Shuang said, casually. Ni Shuang had nothing to do, and she herself was a bit curious if whether this Lu Sheng had made any progress this time around. "Okay, senior sister Ni." The receptionist quickly led Ni Shuang to the apparatus that Lu Sheng had used. He was the only one to use it. "Today, you should be able to find his date without much trouble," the receptionist said. She then took the initiative to retrieve his data. A few seconds later, Lu Sheng's results popped out. The two waiting for the numbers took a good look at the shown results. "Ah!" The receptionist let out a shriek. Her pretty eyes widened in an instant, and one hand fiercely covered her mouth. Ni Shuang's went through even more drastic and steep changes. She was extremely shocked, with incredulous written all over her face, her eyes showing thick and unmasked disbelief as if she did not trust her eyes. "This machine, is it broken?" Ni Shuang spoke in a hoarse and difficult tone. The receptionist froze for several seconds before she reacted violently and blurted out, "Impossible. We serviced it yesterday." "Then that means," Ni Shuang took a deep breath, trying to calm the shock waves stirring her insides, and spoke with a bit of hesitation, "This score is the real one." The receptionist nodded with a dull look on her face. Half a minute later, Ni Shuang's voice resounded from within the testing room and could almost be heard even in the lobby of the academy. "Find the teenager who just underwent his test. Immediately. Go now. Everyone leave now. He often comes to our Red River Martial Academy. He must not live far away. There must be someone nearby who knows him. Go." "Yes, senior sister Ni. Please go down to the Martial Arts Association, Mr. Lu Sheng got into a cab and told his destination. The cab driver, a middle-aged man in his 40s, glanced at Lu Sheng in the rearview mirror and smiled. "Young man, going to the Martial Arts Association for business, huh?" Judging from Lu Sheng's age, he did not associate Lu Sheng with martial arts examinations. Lu Sheng also realized this, and nodded with a smile, saying, "Yes, I'm looking for someone." Hearing Lu Sheng's answer, the cab driver immediately came to life and initiated a conversation at once. "Young man, looking at your age, you should be in senior in high school this year. My daughter is also about the same age as you. She's also in the senior year." The cab driver was obviously a chatterbox, all the way from college entrance exams to college, and then from college to employment. He chattered about anything and everything, boring Lu Sheng to death. The key was that Lu Sheng also had choice but to respond bashfully here and there. Throughout the conversation he just responded with "Right, master, you are right," just to keep the conversation going. On the surface, Lu Sheng had on a very serious look, showing the driver that he was paying attention, but he was wallowing in regret on the inside. "I should have told him I was going to the Martial Artists Association to take my Level 2 martial arts certification test. This way, he'd definitely think I am sick in the head and not want to talk to me." When he finally arrived at his destination, Lu Sheng paid the fare and hurriedly got out, breathing a long sigh of relief. The cab driver poked his head out of the cab and enthusiastically said goodbye to Lu Sheng. "Young man, it was a pleasure talking to you. If we have the chance to meet again, I'll introduce you to my daughter." Lu Sheng smiled politely and nodded, silently thinking, "I hope there won't be a next time." Turning around, he saw the Martial Artist Association. It was a grand building with the signboard of Beihai City Martial Arts Association at the entrance. Lu Sheng calmly walked inside. The lobby to the Ma was not very crowded, and it can be seen that not many people usually have the opportunity to come here. Martial Arts Association. Lu Sheng followed the notice posted on the wall and found the window responsible for martial artist certification and proceeded Are you here to take the Level 1 Martial Artist Certification Test? The staff at the window studied Lu Sheng's ID card and gave him an extra long look. Lu Sheng nodded his head. It was reasonable to say that his current strength could already apply for Level 2, but Lu Sheng turned around and couldn't find the window for the Level 2 Martial Artist Certification. Fill out the form, 1,000 yuan for the assessment, then go over there. The staff at the counter was patient and careful while instructing Lu Sheng what to do. After all, Lu Sheng was here to participate in the certification test. Whether he could pass was not of concern, but the fact that he was here meant that he had a certain level of confidence in his own strength. Taking in consideration Lu Sheng's age, perhaps he was a small-time genius. A bit of politeness hurt no one. Lu Sheng filled out the required form, paid the fee, and followed the staff's guidance and entered the room labeled Martial Artist Assessment Room. Walking in, he saw many people standing in the line inside. He stands in the line. See other people around him. After Lu Sheng came in, a few others also joined him here. One of them had a centipede-like long scar on his face. There was also a fierce-looking man, and an innocent-looking girl with purple hairband. Lu Sheng took a look at the girl with the purple hairband and felt that the other party was about the same age as him. It so happened that the girl was also looking at him, and the two eyes crossed slightly before they each withdrew. The examines in the room checked each other out. Many gave Lu Sheng curious glances as well. The reason being that out of all the other examines he and the girl were the youngest. Okay, we'll start. The examiner saw that the room was filled up and announced the commencement of the examination. First, Li Xingji, Level 1 Martial Artist Assessment. A tall and thin young man stood up from his seat and walked to the testing apparatus in the middle of the room. This is how the test'll be. First you measure your BQV, then the CPI. You'll get 3 chances to measure your CPI if you miss a try due to nervousness or any other reason. The examiner explained. The tall, thin youth nodded, understood. Immediately after that, hovered around the 140s. Fail. How can it be? How can it be? The lanky youth was shaken, his face was pale as if he had lost his soul. He kept on chanting, how could it be? I obviously exceeded 150 every time when I tested my CPI at home. The examiner, seeing his appearance, spoke up. The Martial Arts Association's instruments are officially customized, and are more accurate and rigorous than those sold outside. You do have the strength, so go back and settle down for another month. You should be able to clear it in your next attempt. The tall, lanky youth nodded, pursed his lips and quickly walked out of the room. Emotions and such were contagious. After observing the result of the first candidate, the rest all put on stern expressions to hide their nervousness. Though that did not help them much. Zhao Changfeng. The examiner read out a name. A sturdy figure slowly stood up. It was the fierce-looking man with a scar on his face. Did he not come later? Why is he the second one up? Someone shouted in disbelief. The examiner looked at the person coldly and spoke, because I only saw his application form right now. He was supposed to go first. The people in the room froze, not understanding what the examiner meant by this statement. Then they heard the examiner read out the rest of the words. Then they heard the examiner read out the details for the test, Level 3 Martial Artist Assessment. Hiss! A sound of people sucking in cold air resounded in the room. Everyone looked at the scarred man with a shocked face and a hint of awe in their eyes. Level 3 Martial Artist Assessment. In other words, this man possessed the strength of a Level 2 and was close to a Level 3 Martial Artist. No wonder the examiner said that he should have been the first to undergo the assessment. In the world of martial artists, strength is paramount, and the strong deserve to enjoy their respective privileges. The scarred man walked silently to the testing apparatus. He took his blood and tested. A number quickly popped up on the BQV apparatus. 107.256. The people in the room looked astonished. A BQV of over 100 meant that the scarred man had met the standard of a Level 3 martial artist in the blood and G category. Then came the combat power index. The scarred man faced the testing machine and threw a punch. The speed of this punch was so fast that many people didn't see it clearly. They only felt a blur in front of their eyes, and it ended with a muffled sound in their ears. Lu Sheng's eyes flickered for a moment. He saw the man's punch clearly. The stance and the way the punch was thrown looked like it came from some kind of fist or hand combat technique. 10,831? A value popped up on the gauge. the stifled with sounds of shock and disbelief. It's over? The combat power index had exceeded the standard for a level 3 martial artist. This also meant that from now on, the scarred man was an official level 3 martial artist who was recognized by the Martial Arts Association. The way everyone looked at the scarred man changed a bit at this point. Admiration, but also with a hint of envy. Only a handful of people in the entire Beihai city could be counted among the ranks of level 3 martial artists. Wherever they went, they would be treated very well. Congratulations, Zhao Changfeng. From now on, you are a level 3 martial artist recognized by our Beihai City's Martial Arts Association, and you can enjoy a martial cultivation allowance of 30,000 yuan every month from now on. A bright smile appeared on the examiner's face for the first time, and as he recounted, the people in the room looked at the scarred man with more and more envy. The scarred man silently listened to the examiner's words, then walked back to his original position and sat down. Lu Sheng gave the other party a bit of a strange look. This guy did not leave after the examination. He looked like he wanted to spectate the rest of the assessments. Of course, no one would have a problem with this. If he was fine with it, it wouldn't matter if a level 3 martial artist wanted to sit here until it went completely dark. The next few people went up. All of them cleared the assessment and were now level 1 martial artists. Some passed, and some failed like the lanky youth. Finally, Lu Sheng, level 1 martial artist assessment. It was Lu Sheng's turn. Lu Sheng calmly stood up. He noticed that the eyes of everyone in the room were focused on him. The scarred man and the girl with the purple hairband also looked at him. Even the examiner looked at him a couple of times. After all, not many examines were of Lu Sheng's age, which in itself represented talent. Don't be nervous, just do what you usually do. The examiner spoke gently in a rare moment. Lu Sheng nodded, then picked up the needle to sample his blood. The crimson blood gently rolled down in the groove of the apparatus and blue light fell. Everyone looked at the display on the instrument. Some serious, some casual. The next moment, the value was displayed. 15.701 boom! The whole room instantly exploded. More than half of the people jumped straight up from their positions, and the scarred man and the girl with the purple hairband also stood up as a show of agitation. One of the guys with a casual face even slid straight to the floor on his butt. Crap, really, I'm not mistaken, right? 15 points. Level 2 martial artist. The machine is broken, right? I think it's broken. Everyone stared at the value on the apparatus with disbelief. The room fell into an inexplicable silence. After that, the sound of labored breathing resounded one after another. The look in people's eyes changed when they looked at Lu Sheng. It was as if they were looking at a monster. His dad must be the richest man in Beihai City, right? How tonic pills did he gobble down to get this result? A person in the room said. His face was full of complicated emotions. Others also had similar expressions on their faces, like they were constipated. Lu Sheng was simply too young. At a glance, he looked like he belonged in high school. How old can a high school student be? 17? 18? Similar in age to their brothers, nephews, or even sons. Yet, his BQV was as high as an outrageous 15 points. This guy must have been taking tonic pills from the time he was in his mother's womb, right? Someone spoke sourly. A person next to him